I'm going to be talking about, it's actually called EEAT, or double EAT now. We have a new name for it. And the role of EEAT in e-commerce. This is a little bit wonky. Hopefully it doesn't look like that the whole time. So welcome back. My name is Lively Ray. For those of you that don't know me, I am the Senior Director of SEO and Head of Organic Research at an agency called AMSIF Digital. We are based in New York City and Nashville. And I have been talking about what was formerly EAT, now EEAT, or double EAT, for a few years now. And this stands for now experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. It comes directly from Google's search quality guidelines. They use it many, many times throughout the document to almost synonymously with what it means to have high quality content, trustworthy content. And the search quality evaluators use EEAT to kind of analyze content creators, websites, brands through this kind of criteria of how much they can be trusted. We also know that Google has placed trust at the center of the EEAT family. So now we kind of understand that experience, expertise, and authoritativeness all lend themselves to how much users can trust the site. We have a new E, which stands for experience. So this was not necessarily a surprise to those of us that were paying attention to what Google's been promoting over the past couple of years, particularly with the product reviews update, which we'll talk about. But basically, Google's now saying, you know what, if you have experience, like firsthand experience in the matter, that can be sufficient to create and instill trust within the readers and users. So they added this in December of 2022. It's a pretty new development. And also a lot of other updates to the quality guidelines happened in December. If you want to read more about those, I talked about those at length in here. And we're going to talk about some of those changes today. So like EAT, EEAT also matters more for your money or your life content. So this is another acronym that Google's created. Essentially what it means is that there's certain content that can have a detrimental impact on people's safety, their well-being. It can cause harm to users. So the more content can potentially cause harm, the more your money or your life it is, the more that EEAT is going to matter for that content. This is taken directly from Google's search quality guidelines. So they actually do talk about the role of your money or your life in e-commerce. And there's kind of this spectrum of how your money or your life something can be. So if you're buying pencils, for example, that's mostly probably an innocuous purchase, hopefully. But that's not your money or life, right? It's just buying a pencil. Now, something like Toyota RAV4 reviews, although buying cars is probably very, it's your money or life purchase, because there's reviews in there, Google says, well, maybe it's something where you want to consult friends or family, so it's not like the highest level of your money or life keyword. Something like buy Zoloft or buy prescription drugs or buy medication, that's where we start to get into your money or your life for e-commerce, because obviously it can have a harmful impact on somebody's well-being. So this is kind of my own visualization of what I think Google's doing. And EEAT is really kind of calculated differently depending on the query itself. So something like cancer treatment, this is actually taken directly from Google's quality guidelines. This is where you're going to need to have the utmost levels of authoritativeness and expertise. So for example, you're probably going to see the Mayo Clinic, WebMD, Healthline, these types of sites always ranking in top positions for these keywords because they are authorities. They have doctors working on the sites. Their cancer treatment advice can be trusted. Now, if you type cancer survivor stories, and this also comes directly from Google's quality guidelines, that's where it's maybe a little bit less important that you're an authority or that you're an expert. But if you have the firsthand experience, if you are a cancer survivor, that experience is sufficient for the page to rank, right? If someone's looking for actual survivor stories. So in the e-commerce world, when it comes to something like buy an iPhone 14, authoritativeness is going to be very important here. And that's because Google probably wants to show the Apple Store and show Best Buy and show other very trusted retailers that are authorities on selling products and selling tech products. Experience is not really going to matter. Expertise is not super relevant for that keyword. But iPhone 14 reviews, this is where Google's absolutely looking for experience. They want to know that the person actually used the phone. In fact, that they talk about this in the product review guidelines. We need proof that you're a real person that actually used the product. And the more you can kind of expand on that evidence, the better the page is going to rank. Expertise is also important here because Google tends to like to rank review content from sites that kind of focus in that niche and have expertise in that area. So sorry, there's a little overlapping here happening. But some important caveats to remember. A lot of people like to say, oh, Lily, I found a result that doesn't have any experience, so this must not be working as intended. Google just changed the quality guidelines in December. So what basically happens now is there's search quality evaluations happening all around the world with thousands of quality raters who are taking this new criteria and scoring content accordingly. And core updates happen later, right? So we might not see the manifestation of the new E, the experience signal, maybe for 3 months, maybe for 6 months. And I will talk about AI content later, but just because something's happening now doesn't mean that's what's going to happen in the future. Google's always launching new algorithm updates and making changes. So read what Google recommends doing. Even if it's not happening now, it's probably what they're trying to aim towards in the future with the algorithms. So yes, we haven't seen experience necessarily manifest itself in the rankings yet, so hold on tight, might not be there yet. So what do the search quality guidelines say specifically about EEAT for e-commerce? This is an 160-page document for anybody who hasn't read it. It's kind of a lot of information. So I tried to synthesize specifically what they talk about as it relates to e-commerce. So a lot of this is going to be very self-explanatory, but at least we know this is what Google considers high-quality content for e-commerce. So number one, displaying policies and payments. Payments, exchanges, and returns is basically a sign of trust. So e-commerce sites should always do that. Having detailed customer service representation is also something that builds trust. So it should be very transparent on your e-commerce site how to get in touch with your customer service. Being a well-known, reputable brand can also build trust inherently. So if you are an e-commerce store or a brand that people are familiar with, this is something that instills trust in the user. This is interesting. They actually say that selling products that are unique to your own site is a sign of effort and original content. So although effort is not another E in EEAT, Google does talk about effort a lot, and that's actually a big change in the December 2022 version of the search quality guidelines. They're starting to talk a lot more about like how much effort was put into this page, and that's kind of a proxy that they can use for how well that page should rank. Something to think about with AI content. But yeah, having your own original products is a sign of effort and original content. Also focusing your site on one specific niche. Google provides the example of fashionable baby furniture is a sign of expertise because you're really focused in on that area. Having a positive reputation of your brand is a sign of authority and trust. So pretty obvious. Google asks its quality raters to go do a lot of research about the brand and get to know the brand. And if there's a good evidence of a good reputation across many different sites, that's going to lead to higher scoring with Google's quality evaluations. And then, of course, many user reviews are a sign of effort and original content. So there's many great reasons to have reviews in e-commerce, but one of them is also that it shows Google that you have this kind of like robust, thriving community that's creating a lot of unique and original content for you. So that's great. And then producing your own product makes you an expert on those products, which therefore leads to the page being authoritative. So if you're selling an original product that's from your site only, you are an authority on that topic. So that's just what they say about e-commerce. And we'll talk more practically about what that kind of looks like. But first I want to talk about search intent. I know we've talked about this a bit already. Callum and I actually have a lot of similar information in our presentations. But talking about search intent for e-commerce. So I think we all know this by now, but just because you think something is transactional, like intuitively, doesn't necessarily mean that it is. Google has a lot more data about search intent than we do. They have billions and billions of searches like per day that they can analyze to see what the actual intent is for a keyword. So it's very important. We've already talked about this a few times today, but to look at the SERPs. So I took 4 different examples of shoes: running shoes, ballet shoes, hiking shoes, and barefoot shoes. Didn't say buy, didn't say reviews, anything like that. Just took the head term, took the quote unquote transactional keyword. Now, if you overlay transactional or informational kind of coloring on these results, so green is going to be transactional, blue is going to be informational, you can see that it's pretty mixed. And in some cases, like running shoes, it actually starts with an informational ranking as number 1. Hiking shoes has a number 2 informational ranking. And then interestingly, barefoot shoes is really split between transactional and informational. And that's because a lot of people kind of want clarity about like, what are barefoot shoes? Do they work? Debunking them. So Google knows there's this like built-in intent for a lot of keywords, and it's not always transactional. So if you work on e-com sites or you have e-com clients, you have to remind them, maybe that's not the most important keyword for us to go after because Google's actually looking for something slightly different. Adding best or reviews to transactional keywords is generally going to return informational results. This is where we get into, we've talked about affiliate marketing and third-party review sites and the product reviews updates. So whenever you kind of add those modifiers, that's when you start to see a lot more informational content. But e-commerce sites are rarely the ones ranking in this space. We've also talked about this a little bit already, but these are the guys ranking. These are product review sites. They have affiliate links. They have, in some cases, very, very robust, testing strategies to talk about all the different products that they're reviewing, like Wirecutter's probably the top of the game for that. But what I think, we work with a lot of e-commerce clients at our agency. It's like, why not just give Google the option? If they want informational content, can we give it to them? Of course, many brands have all kinds of objections about why that's not possible for them, but the more we can do to try to be able to rank for both transactional and informational simultaneously, the more likely we are to appear, regardless of what Google knows about the intent of that keyword, which, by the way, intents change all the time. With core updates, you might see something switch from completely transactional results to informational and vice versa, so just have different results for different types whenever Google chooses to display them. So building an internal expert content team is a really great way that you can do this, that I think a lot of companies overlook. And the benefits of having expert content. Obviously, it can drive upper funnel traffic. Obviously, it earns links and social shares, which is great. One underlooked opportunity is that you can potentially rank in Google Discover. We do a lot of research about Discover at our agency, and more often than not, you'll see like e-commerce sites that have kind of fun and interesting content can get a lot of really great traffic from Google Discover as well. And of course, it builds your experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness as well. So if you do plan to launch any type of commerce content on your e-commerce site, or especially product review content, just consider Google's product review guidelines. There have now been 6 product review updates, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down. This is happening a lot. Google's refining what these updates look like. So they have documentation about what they're expecting in terms of content quality for product review sites. The long and short of it is that there's way too many sites on the internet that are doing very thin, kind of lazy, quote-unquote reviews of products, but in reality, they're just scraping what already exists out there, putting a lot of affiliate links on the site. So Google has to say, you know what, it's just gone too far. You need to show evidence that you've tried the product. You need to show pictures of yourself using the product and real evidence beyond what the manufacturer says. So actually using things like writing in the first person is a really good exercise when it comes to doing product reviews. When in doubt, look at Wirecutter. Everything they're doing is like the pinnacle of product reviews. So some of the tactics that are used by product review sites that are doing well, they go above and beyond to demonstrate how they're testing products, how many hours they've spent testing products, why you can trust them, what to consider, all this original and unique content. If you look at the Wirecutter, they have these incredible descriptions that are like, oh, we spent 80 hours testing this one thing, and we learned this and this thing, and just like going above and beyond to show both searchers and Google that you've done your homework. So as far as e-commerce sites that are demonstrating EEAT very well, so why rank once, again, when you can rank twice or 3 times? This is Home Depot. They do an excellent job with this. So for the keyword toilet plunger, they actually have an indented result where the informational result is first, transactional result is second. And again, Google might flip that depending on what they know about the intent of the keyword. For laminate flooring, the Home Depot has an e-commerce page ranking, like a category page. They have types of laminate flooring, which is an expert article. And then they also have a YouTube how to install laminate flooring. So that's 3 results in the top 10. This is a view from Ahrefs, which if nobody's tried playing with this tool, it's really excellent. You can see for a given page, or for a given keyword, which pages on the site are ranking at different points in time. So here, this blue line that's always been ranking in top positions is Home Depot's category page for moving boxes. The other colors are different pages on their site. The orange one is an informational page about moving boxes, and you can see that it goes in and out of the first page, or rather top 10. But that's depending on when Google wants to show that indented result. So when they do choose to show it, 2 rankings, they kind of toggle that on and off. But why not just be there when Google chooses to show 2 results from the same site? Also, there's other SERP features like buy-in guides. So for Home Depot, they'll appear number 1 for moving boxes with a transactional page. And then Google has this new SERP feature for buy-in guides, and the informational content will rank in there. REI is another fantastic site in the US. They're crushing it with e-commerce. This is a breakdown of different, basically, folders on their site using Systrix as well. You can see the red content here is their category content. The blue is expert advice content. So they're driving tons of visibility through their expert advice folder. Sorry, this is a little bit wonky, but basically you can see all the metrics. It ranks for over 480,000 plus keywords, 1.8 million estimated monthly traffic, visits per month, and then 126,000 plus backlinks. That's specifically to the expert advice folder. The type of expert content that they're doing is instructional. So, things like indoor, climbing basics. You have checklists. This is brilliant. They rank in like position 3 or something in the US for the word camping. And it's literally just like, here's a camping checklist. And it's just links to their category page. It's like just a little checkbox and just a bunch of links to their category pages. Product reviews, so they have their own internal product review team. And then how-to and gear guides. And the beautiful thing about this content, obviously, is you can link back to your own products and categories. They have a really fantastic contributing expert strategy. This is what my team and I are like talking to our clients about all day, every day. Like, can you work with internal experts at your company? Can you work with people that shop at REI? Maybe they're part of the membership program. I love this example of Ryan here on the lower left because he's a hammock enthusiast. And he ranks, his content about hammock ranks on the first page because guess what? Someone who spends all their time hanging out in hammocks is going to be the most qualified person to actually talk about the different hammocks that you sell at REI. It's a fantastic article, so you can't really compete with that. Sorry about the formatting here, but basically with REI, you can see several different examples. For bike shoes, they rank 2 as well as 2A, so indented, for cycling shoes and how to choose bike shoes. For hammock, again, that's Ryan, our author. Lost one of our numbers here, but essentially they're ranking twice in the top 10 results because one's transactional, one's informational. Inflatable paddleboard, they rank number 1 and number 5 respectively, again with transactional as well as informational content. And then socks, they rank position 10, which is not super great, but it's a very competitive keyword, as well as 18. And actually Google's picking that informational article first and the transactional one second. So, point being, if you can kind of like double your traffic for some of these high volume keywords, why wouldn't you? This is one of our skincare clients. They obviously sell skincare products. It's an e-commerce site, but this red subfolder here is their ingredient dictionary. They have an entire dictionary dedicated to talking about the different chemicals in their products. They also have expert advice, which is blue. So you can see that the visibility for the informational content is actually significantly higher than just the products and categories. So this is an example of how that's structured. We have a product that's salicylic acid acne product. We have 3 different expert advice articles, so those are the blue ones. And then we also have an ingredient dictionary page, and all this informational expert content is driving links back to that product page and showing Google that we have expertise on those topics. So this is kind of the anatomy of an expert article. Of course, you can do whatever you want with this, but having author names, having clear headlines, having maybe your editorial policy or your expert, fact check policy that you might use. Key takeaways, citations, expert quotes are always fantastic. Use your own unique images and videos. This is true for e-commerce as well. Like, take photos of your own products. Don't just use the same photo that's out there. What you want to do is prove to Google that you have something original as much as possible. Even if everybody's using the same photo, why not create something entirely new they haven't seen before? And then, of course, firsthand experience and expert insights are fantastic for this type of content. Contributions from multiple individuals on forums add up to a significant amount of combined human effort. So these are some online communities that are doing that very well. Lululemon has a thriving community online. Sephora also has a fantastic community. And Bass Pro Shops is, in the US, we like to have stores dedicated to things like hunting and fishing and things like that, but they have a fantastic subdomain. The Bass Pro Shop One Source subdomain is dedicated entirely to expert content. So essentially, people that are enthusiasts at Bass Pro Shops create their own profile. They're like, hey, I'm Joe, I love fishing, and this is all this great content that I'm gonna write for their site about all my different experiences fishing. I'm gonna link to some of the products. I don't exactly know how they structure this, but they actually link back to Bass Pro Shops products. And I will say, ChatGPT cannot write this content. This is unique expert content. And of course, don't forget about trust signals. This is kind of the standard run-of-the-mill e-commerce sites should always talk about all their great policies about how they give back to the planet and how they've been there since the 1800s, and the return policies and all these great things are all great for EEAT. Running short on time, so we're going to move a little faster. On the flip side, reputational issues can cause performance decline. So this is a site called Rosegal. I used to get targeted very, very heavily on Instagram for their products, but they have a very bad reputation. Sorry if anybody here works there, but it's kind of obvious. If you go to the Better Business Bureau, it's not great. And you can see it's actually tied to core updates when they lost a lot of visibility on Google, which I think is very interesting. Urban Outfitters is a similar story. There's been kind of a decay in their visibility over time, not a lot of great reviews, sorry to say. And it wouldn't be a complete SEO talk without talking about GPT, so we're going to do it really fast. You can use GPT carefully to try to improve your EEAT. Some prompts that we've been using. So for an e-commerce website that sells baby clothing, please provide 10 examples of how the company can best convey experience, trustworthiness, and legitimacy directly on the product pages. It comes up with some really fun advice here. I like to basically put things like about page content into GPT and not assume that it knows what I'm talking about, because assuming GPT knows things is really dangerous. Don't do that. But you can say for like this company's about page that I'm going to copy here, how can I better convey trust and experience? Give me 10 ways that I can do that. It's really good at analyzing text, so feed it the text. Don't assume that it knows what's on the about page. Audience-specific EEAT research. So you can say, hey, I have an e-commerce site that sells baby furniture. My audience is moms that are 24 to 36. What are 10 tips that I should consider about them? You can do this on your own. You'll get your own answers, but it does give very, very good advice. And then I love this. If you have a problem with reviews, for example, you can copy paste all that review content. I think GPT takes up to 4,000 words. And you can say, I'm going to show you numerous examples of our product reviews. Can you please summarize the 5 or 10 things that people are commonly taking issue with our brand? Key takeaways. Well, it's blank, so I guess that's the end of the presentation, but hopefully it's pretty self-explanatory. Sorry about the formatting issues. We'll try to fix it up and send it out to you guys, but hope you enjoyed it. Enjoy the rest of the conference.